Hello everyone, my name is Amy Silvestri and I will be your host today. Welcome to XCMeducate Busy Season Series 2020 Product Release Review. During this session, Justina Iso, Product Manager, will walk through a review of all of the 2020 enhancements and will discuss what is coming later in December. The webinar will then open for Q&A. Before I hand it over to Justina, I have a few housekeeping items to cover about this webinar. Wolters Kluwer is registered with NASBA as a sponsor of continuing professional education on the National Registry of CPE Sponsors. As such, we are excited to offer 1 CPE credit for today's webinar. A total of 4 polls will be conducted throughout the presentation, and you will need to participate in 3 of the 4 polls in order to receive CPE. Your certificate will be sent to the email you used to register for this webinar within 72 hours after the session. If you do not receive your certificate within 72 hours, please email us at xcmclientservices@xcmsolutions.com. Please note, CPE is not available when viewing the on-demand version of this webinar. If you experience difficulty answering the polling questions, please type your answer in the questions pane of the control panel and we will ensure you receive credit for those questions. You will also have the opportunity to submit text questions to today's presenter by typing your questions into the question pane of the control panel. We'll be answering questions at the end of the session. If we don't get to answer your question during today's webinar, we will be sure to follow up afterwards. A recording of this session will be sent to you 24 hours after the session. The recording and presentation will also be available on our Help Center later this week. So without further ado, I'd like to welcome Justina.
Thank you, Amy. Hi, everyone. My name is Justina Iso. I am one of the product managers here at XCM. I've been with XCM for about 3 years, and I not only get to work on our workflow product, but also our XCM scheduling. Today, we have a very exciting agenda. For the first half of today's webinar, I'm going to be going over some key enhancements that we've delivered in this last year. So we're excited to showcase and remind you of everything that's available to you today. For the second half of today's webinar, I'm going to be reviewing our upcoming release for the end of the month. So enhancements you'll be seeing later on, so you get a sneak peek of what's coming. So let's jump right in to our first polling question. How do you learn about upcoming XCM enhancements? Do you use the product notification emails, the product notification in the application, the release notes in the Help Center, your firm shares updates, or you don't get any updates? And don't forget, folks, if you are looking to get CPE credit for this webinar, you do have to answer 3 of the 4 polling questions. Give folks a couple more seconds to get your response in. All right. I'm going to go ahead and share those results. And it looks like 87% of you rely on our product notification emails. So that's really great to hear that you are getting those updates. As you can see, there are other ways to find out about enhancements, not only through these emails. We do have the notification in the application. We do have our release notes. But it's also great that your firm also takes charge in getting those updates to you. So that's great to hear. All right, now I'm going to be sharing our top 10 enhancements that we released in 2020. This year, we've released over 30 enhancements, so excited to showcase a few of those off. So the first is an update to our APIs. So for those who don't know what an API is, it's in a computer programming and application programming interface, API. is a computing interface which defines interactions between multiple software intermediaries. If you are like me, you don't know what that means. In other words, a way of two standalone applications to talk to one another. So things you can do with APIs, you can import and export XCM data. You can analyze the data, so do year-over-year comparisons by task, client, employee. You can compare, so being able to see how your departments are doing, how your offices are doing. You can integrate with different management systems, different applications. You can bulk upload and edit client information. You can manipulate and edit tasks, and then you can also control user data. So at a high level, all of our APIs fall into these 5 different buckets. And in 2020, we've increased the number of APIs, and we now offer over 50 APIs. So this is a great way to connect all of your different softwares rather than manually putting in information in XCM and another software. You can get APIs to do this. So removing that dual entry, and again, the different reporting, the different upkeep you would do in systems, you can use APIs. So if you haven't done so, I would highly recommend contacting your consultant or your account manager just to learn more about what APIs could do for you and your firm. Now I'm going to jump right into the application. For those who are familiar with XCM before 2020, you'll remember that we used to have 4 categories. We had the tax, the financial, bookkeeping, and other. And what would typically happen is what we heard is all of the tax departments would use the tax categories. All of audit would use financial, CAS would be in bookkeeping, and you'd also have this other category. But what we heard from you is that you would have all of these different departments working with one another, working in that same category. So when you're on a page like advanced search or in reports, instead of reporting off of the category, you would have to remember what your task type is. You would have to remember what statuses apply to you. Same when you're on the control sheet. You might see a bunch of statuses that don't apply to your department. So your users would have to remember, oh, this applies to me, this applies to my department. So once we learned that folks were using categories very similar to departments to distinguish it, we decided to increase the number of categories that you can have in our application. So instead of 4, you can have up to 20 categories in XCM. This is very simple to do. All you have to do is contact your consultant or even email support, and they can get you started. They can add those categories to your site. And with every category, you of course get, it'll appear in all of the drop-downs. There'll be a My View associated with it. And you also get, out of the box, all of these statuses. So you can see that these are standard XCM statuses, whether it's initiating the task, it's closing the task. They also power the My View, so like the unassigned buckets, the admin buckets. And you can also see here that we do have the e-file statuses. So if you want to utilize the e-file section on the control sheet for any of these new categories, you certainly can. So a really exciting opportunity, and again, contact your consultant or support to add additional categories to your site. Now with that, you might be familiar with this particular dropdown, the tasks category dropdown in the manage settings and defaults. And what we've heard from you is, you know, when I go into XCM, I want my filters to just default to that particular category. We work primarily in tax. So just set all my filters, whether it's in advanced search and reports and scheduler, set it to my default category. And that worked for a while. But as you all started adding additional users, they had different use cases. So you had half your firm working in tax in XCM, but you also had another half using CAS. And so setting this firm-wide wasn't very helpful. And now we've given you the option to set it by user. So using that example, you might have half your firm using tax. You can set this field, this default category, to tax, and that other group to CAS. And so when they do end up on the advanced search, on the reports, we default to those categories. Again, to make it a little bit easier, you're doing less clicks. All right, the next feature I'm going to go over is our checklist views. As you all might know already, our checklist views is while you have a task, you can assign specific checklist item to another user, to another group. So we have the admin checklist and the my checklist. And here, traditionally, what we used to do is we would list out all of the different tasks where a checklist has been assigned. So here I'm looking at six tasks that have checklists that have been assigned to the admin group. But what we've heard from you is, okay, there are 7 checklists assigned to the admin group. How many of those 7 actually apply to the admin group? And you would have to click in, you'd see a pop-up for the checklist appear, and then you'd see, oh, there's only 1, or oh, it's all 7 that apply to the admin checklist. Same with the my checklist. And we wanted to make that easier for you. Rather than having to drill into every single one, we wanted to give you a global view of all the checklists assigned, either to you or to the admin group. And so that's exactly what we've done. So here I've had my admin checklist set this way, but if I open up my checklist, you can see it shows up in a different pop-up. And now you can see all of the checklists that have been assigned to me. So in a stitch of time, these are all of the checklists that I am responsible for. You can see I have all my client information. And then over here are all of the checklist details. You'll see that this view works a little differently. So I can actually filter each column, which is not available in some of our other views. So we are excited about that capability, but I can also make edits right here as well. So no need to go into the control sheet. I can do it right here. You'll also see that I have the ability to create an email from this view. I can also hide different of the columns, as well as I can export into Excel. Pretty exciting and very similar to all of the admin checklists. You can also determine what columns will show up. So you can do that in the manage custom grid utility. And so here I picked my checklist, and these are all of the items or all of the columns that I want to see. Now, speaking of columns, I do want to actually call out the checklist name and checklist. So we wanted to give you the ability to filter by checklist. So we would obviously use the name. Here in the checklist, you can't necessarily do that because you do have the option to add bullet points, different formatting, and so it made filtering a little difficult. So we wanted to give you this option of being able to filter by the name, make it easier. Now this field already exists in the checklist utility, but it didn't exist in the control sheet. And we wanted to make sure this was uniform and that you can filter regardless of whether it came from the control sheet or the utility. So we updated the control sheet. And you can see here, if I hit add checklist, you see this new field right here, checklist item name. And again, this will allow filtering in those views. Now the way to set this up is going back to the manage settings and default page. You see that we have these 2 new drop downs, and you can see that I can set this site-wide. So you see here that my checklist, I've set this at the checklist view, but I wanted to keep my admin at the task level view, so the traditional view. So you do have the option to opt in and pick which views will have that level of detail or not. All right, now I'm going to go back into my control sheet. We also made an update into the engagement section. We wanted to align this with the audit standards of the AICPA. So we updated the level of service. We renamed industries to other practices in industries. We also added the must select, must cover. And all of these fields are also available in the reports. And we also updated the functionality. So if I'm in one of these drop downs and I'm looking for a code that had international, I can actually just start typing. And it'll start making that list a little bit smaller and making it easier to find my option. All right, the next thing is our reports. You might remember prior to 2020, we've actually been optimizing our different reports. We wanted to make things faster. We know everyone relies on these reports, not only to give you accurate information, but also as quickly as possible. You do rely on this. So we're constantly updating these reports so they're running as quickly as possible. So the reports that we updated in 2020 is the issues and points, all. We've also updated the e-file status. We updated the search by client entity report. We also updated the combined assembly shipping, the sign-offs report, and then last but not least, the task by task type report. Now, along with it running faster, but you may have noticed if you've gone to any of these reports that the page looks a little bit different. So we updated the interface so that it matches other parts of our application. Okay, so those are our updates in the workflow product, and now I'm going to jump into Calendar. So when you're working in Calendar, what we've learned is, and it's been designed, that you have all these pages open. If you have a conflict with a client engagement, you have a schedule by task page open. You also need to refer to the schedule by employee page on another monitor to see who actually has the availability. And so with that, we decided to update the design so that when you click on either of these, they'll actually open up in pop-ups. So again, we really wanted to hit it home that these are meant to be seen together. And you can see if I ever refresh this button, you'll see that I do get a timestamp so that you also know the last time this page has been edited and has been updated. Now, along with these pop-ups, we've also made some really big UI changes that I'm excited to talk about. So I'm going to go ahead and highlight. And you can see right here my booking slider. It looks very different. It's a lot sleeker. It flows a little bit easier. So it all has the same functionality. So I'm going to search for a task that I want to schedule. I'm going to pick this particular item. You can see that I'm already assigned in this task to a role. And I have a budget of 52 hours. And now I can book. And everything's here on the same line. So I'm going to pick my task, my job code. I'm going to hit confirm, and well, I have to work that Saturday. Now, aside from this really easy design, let's say for this particular resource, you not only have to book them for the audit, but you also have to book them for the field work. You also have to book them for the wrap-up work. You have to book them multiple times in this role for this task. Before, you would have to hit save add, and you just change the date. What we've now allowed you to do is you can add another booking right here. There's no need to hit save and add or exit out of it. You can do it all right here. What's also great is that we will tell you if this resource already has a booking in this role for this task. If you look at this show more bookings. And here I can see, oh, this resource has already been booked for the audit. So you get that level of visibility. Now you can see this not only on the schedule by employee page, but also on the schedule by task, as well as the My Calendar. So if you allow your resources to book themselves, they can also be able to see, oh, I've already booked myself for this engagement in this job code, but I haven't done these 3 other items that need to be scheduled. So really improving that visibility, improving also reducing the number of clicks to get a schedule on the calendar. Now the next calendar enhancement I'm personally very excited about, and it is our staffing management page. What we heard from clients is you go into workflow, you get scheduled or you get moved a task, and then you go to the calendar, you figure out who's available, you go back to the control sheet, you assign it, then you go back to the calendar. There's a lot of jumping back and forth. And what we heard from folks is, I want to just be able to do it all in one place. And so that's why we've created this page. It combines the staffing section on the control sheet with the calendar. So you can see here on my left-hand side, I've got all of my task identifiers, my staffing, their budget information, but I also have the bookings. And I can make all of these edits right here. There's no need to jump back and forth. So I can say, oh, I got to actually get rid of Gary. Or very easily, I can make changes to the bookings all right here. I also have the ability to remove users, including secondary users, or I can add users as well. So this is a really great page to consolidate all of the work that you're looking for. The other great piece that I love about this page is it improves the visibility. So you have a team scheduled on a client and you need to know exactly when they're scheduled and be able to make quick edits. We know rescheduling happens all the time. This is the perfect page to do that on. Now, how do I get to this page? Well, if I go back to my calendar, if I right click, you'll see that I have the staffing management page. If I hit edit, you'll also notice that this link is right here in the booking slider. But what's also great is that it's right here on the control sheet. Now this is all being managed by this view staffing management page, user right. So if you don't see it in your application today and you do have calendar, make sure to turn this on. And this is something really important to know. What I've heard from folks is I've got a group of people, I've got folks who need to see who's scheduled, when they're scheduled, but I can't give them full access to the calendar. They just need to know the schedules that pertain to them. This is a great in-between. So you can assign them this view staffing management page and still not give them access to the calendar. And they can see all of this information. And to edit the bookings, they would still need the calendar read-write user right. To edit the budget, they would still need that budget user right. This does respect all of the existing user rights. So this is a really great way to give visibility to folks that may not have had it today. Now that is all of the updates for our calendar, and I'm actually now going to hand things on over to Amy, who's going to talk about some of the updates we made to our Help Center.
Great, thanks, Justina. Let me just go ahead and share my screen. Okay, so hopefully everybody can see my screen. Justina, can you see my?
I can, yes.
Okay, perfect, thank you. All right, so I'm going to talk to you this afternoon just a little bit about the new Help Center. So XCM has always had a Help Center. You can access it from all pages in XCM here where it says Help. But what we did this year is we gave it a little bit of an update. Our other Help Center that we had, as we did with some of our reports, we've made the UI look a little bit more like the application. We've done that here with the Help Center. We've also tried to bring everything to the forefront so that everybody can have access to all of our documentation and videos and webinars and all of that right there for you. In the old system, it was a little bit clunkier, a little bit harder to find things. So if you see here on my page, I'm on the home page of the Help Center. This is where you'll be brought to when you click on Help, and it's going to bring you here where you can see all of our products. So we've brought all of our products to the forefront. Each product has its own page. And all of our product pages are set up very similar. We'll walk through the home page and then we'll jump into one of the product pages. But they're set up very similar where we have training and support. On the home page, you're going to have access to everything for all products here. So if you wanted to click into training and support and see the webinars, you can use this link down here and it will open up the webinars page where you can see all of our live webinars. You can go ahead and register for them all right here. Oops, sorry, wrong button. And then as you scroll down, you're going to be able to see we have guides and documentations, popular guides, and popular videos. So what we wanted to do is we wanted to bring right on the front page here. If you wanted to watch XCM 101 application overview, you can come right in here, click on the video button, and watch the on-demand version of XCM 101. We also put out here XCM 201, and then also for everybody's favorite topic is clearing cache. If anybody has questions on how to do it, we have a short video for that. And we also have other short videos that relate to the MyView page in the control sheet. We put the MyView overview here as well. In the popular guide section, these are guides that, based on the analytics that we do from the Help Center, we post out what people are looking at. So during the busy season, we might change this, and you might see the release notes. Those will always be here because we change our release notes for every release, so we want to make sure that that's up front for everybody. But instead of checklist process guides, maybe we'll have an extension, or maybe we'll move up this recurring task process guide, things like that. So we do periodically change this based on what the analytics are saying that people are looking at for us and from our Help Center. So we're going to go ahead and jump right into our XCM scheduler product page. So to do that, you just click on the tile, as I did, and it's going to open up the XCM scheduler. You're always going to see what page you're on up here. It's always going to start with some implementation and getting started. So if there's any IT reference guides for people that relate to it, you'll be brought to that page, or the getting started. All training that relates to scheduler. So say you come out here and you're not sure about APIs or scheduler, you want to see if there's a training, you don't want to go through and dig for other pages, just click on that product guide, because those trainings will be right here on that page, and you have the ability to register for those sessions as well. The on-demand videos that relate to those product pages are on this page. And then any guides and documentation that we feel are the popular ones related to those pages are also out here. You'll see that I have links here in orange. Anything that's in orange is going to bring you back to more documentation. So they'll say that there's more documentation out there, but you can get there. You know, we don't want to overload the pages with stuff, so we've gotten some other pages out there that will host everything, and I'll show those to you in just a few minutes. So along the top, you're going to see we have home, we have training links, guides and docs. You can create a support ticket, manage, and contact us. So if you jump into the training link here, you're going to be able to see our webinars. So again, if you want to click in, that's going to bring you to that same page I showed you from the home page. If we go back in here and we do the on-demand webinars, this is going to bring you to all of our on-demands and the links for watching them. So you can come out here. I know a lot of times people don't have time to sit through our 1-hour sessions that we host weekly. So you can come in here, and at your leisure, you can start and stop any one of these. And then the on-demand videos. This is all of our videos that we have for XCM. So as I mentioned earlier, we have short videos that relate to the MyView page and the control sheet. Those can all be found on this page. As you see more, you click in there and you're going to be brought to more videos. XBTAX, we have some videos for them. So if I click on see more, it'll bring me out to just a load of videos that we host. So we have our on-demands on here. We broke it out by the MyView page, by the task information, the control sheet, any of our best practices that we've hosted. We do monthly best practices. Any of those recordings can be found out here. And then our biggest thing that we did over the last 6 months at XCM is we started an XCMeducate series. So we did an expert series over, I believe, over the summertime, and now we're into a busy season one. All of those videos and PowerPoints are hosted out here. So the one for today, once the session has ended and the recording will be sent out from GoToWebinars. If you don't get that, or if you want a copy of the PowerPoint, you can come out here. So go to the training, go to the on-demand videos, see more, and you'll find it down here in the XCMeducate spot for it. Guides and documentations. We have guides and documentations for every product that we have. So XCM workflow, practice management, scheduler, outsourcing, analytics, and APIs. All of these are accessible through their product pages, but also through the guides and documentations. You'll have access into seeing everybody's documents and all the documents that we host. See more will bring you out to the more information that we have. So we do have a lot of information. Justina and I are part of a team that works very closely on making sure that all of these are updated as releases come out. So as those come out, we do update these documents to make sure that you have the most up-to-date information. If you're new to XCM and you want to start, or you're thinking about using XCM in another department like audit, we have XCM frameworks, and these are just workflow mapping examples of how you could map out a workflow for an audit engagement or for a monthly bookkeeping or something like that. And then one of the other sections that we have here is our create support ticket. And this is, I like to say it's new, but it's not. We had it in the old version. But what that did was basically just opened up and gave you an email to our help center. What this one is doing is once you click on create a support ticket, you can come in and you can start to type in a subject. So let's say I want to search for something on my MyView page. Once I type in the subject, over here to the right-hand side, it's going to bring up knowledge documentation. And it could be a knowledge article, it could be something about the search page, it could be a user right document we have, it could be 101. Anything here, it's going to be any source documents that we have that includes information about the MyView page. The reason we've done this is we want to get information to you as fast as we can. So if you're coming in and looking for a process of how to set up your MyView page or a custom grid or something like that, as you type in what you're looking for, those documents are going to come up for you. You can click on them. I'll just click on one to show you. It's going to open up the document here, and you can peruse through to see if it answers the question you have. If you're not finding the answer in these documents here that we have, you can go through and complete this section here. So we're going to say it's the MyView. Let's say you have to put a topic, so you're going to click the MyView again. And this information is just to give our support team a little bit more information on what you're looking for. And then you can come in and you can select a subtopic. So let's say I want to know how to move a task or an extension. And then you can put in a description. The description is going to be more detail. The more detail you can supply to support, the better, or the easier it's going to be for them to get back to you with that right information. And then you can go ahead and you can hit submit. This will go off to our support team just like it would if you contacted them through the email support@xcmsolutions.com. So just a little bit more information at your fingertips so that you can, instead of waiting maybe that 2-hour window, you'll get the answer right then, and you've been able to you don't have to go through and submit that ticket for you. The other thing I want to show you here is the managed support tickets, which is new. So if you click on the managed support ticket, you're going to have visibility into any support ticket you've submitted. So a lot of times what happens is we'll get a call from a customer that says, I submitted a ticket, I never got an answer, and now I found out my ticket's been closed. Well, maybe you were left a voicemail, you didn't get it, and then so you didn't respond. The team has tried to reach out, didn't get any response, so they closed the ticket. Or maybe you missed an email that came through from them, or whatever it is. You can now come in and you can see the status of your ticket. So has it been reported? Has it been closed? Did it get submitted to a bug? You know, sometimes if they get submitted to bugs, then they go forward and, you know, they could be a little bit of time before you get a response back to what happened with that bug. You'll be able to see if it's still in the status of the bug. So just a little bit more information and more visibility into the tickets and things that you're submitting into XCM. And I think I've covered just about everything. This search here, same thing. If you type in the MyView or whatever you're looking for, it'll bring up those articles for you. So we do go ahead and update these all the time, so it does have the most information for you. So with that, Justina, I am going to turn it back over to you.
Thank you, Amy.
You're welcome.
All right, and we're going to jump into our second polling question. These next two questions are going to be about the enhancements we just saw. So I'm going to launch the first one. So first question, I can contact my consultant and or support to add additional categories. True or false? I can contact my consultant and or support to add additional categories. True or false? And if you're looking for CPE credit, you do need to respond to 3 of the 4 questions in today's webinar. I'll give folks a few more seconds to get your responses in. All right. I'm going to share those results. So if you answer true, you're correct. You can contact us and we will add additional categories. It's a very simple process on our end. And once you log into your application, the next time you'll see these additional categories appearing in your site. I'm going to jump into our third question. I can access the calendar staffing management page from right-clicking on a booking, booking slider, control sheet, all of the above, none of the above. I can access the calendar staffing management page from right-clicking on a booking, the booking slider, control sheet, all of the above, none of the above. Couple more seconds to get your responses in. Okay, I'm going to share those results. All right, if you chose all the above, you are correct. So there are multiple ways to get to that new page. It's whether you find the actual booking, if you go into the booking slider of that booking, or even from the control sheet, there's a link in the staffing section. So multiple ways to get there. Okay, so everything we saw before this is everything you have access to today. It is in your application. If you have any questions, obviously, please send it to us in the questions area of this webinar, or you can send us a question through support or your consultant. What we're now going to be reviewing are enhancements that are going to be coming up. I'm going to be showing you them in a test site. So they're not available today, but you will be getting an announcement of when they will be available in your site. So the first is the forgot password page. For those of you who have encountered this page or even the must change password page, it's an older UI from our old legacy version of XCM. So we've updated it so it matches our current login. It matches the UI that you're probably more familiar with. I'm going to go back into our application. So we made some updates to our utilities. So the first one is going to be the restore deleted task. You can see that this here shows up a little differently. You've got filters. Before, if you go into the application, you would see every task that is scheduled to be deleted. And that can get a little overwhelming if you're looking for a needle in the haystack. You still have the ability to see all, so I'm going to actually clear my filters and hit search. And I can see all of the tasks that are deleted. So I not only have that ability, but I also have the ability to export all of this into Excel. So if you do have any reporting or you do need to look at this outside of the application, you can export it into Excel. The other additions are these two new columns, the deleted by and the deleted on. So now you can see who made the change and when did they initiate the change. Now, important thing to remember about this utility is that the logic still stands that we delete all of these tasks at the end of the month. So if I go and run the same search next month, I'm not going to see these two tasks. So we do follow that. And again, you do have these filters and you can export it into Excel. The next utility is the delete and restore deliverables. Very similar, we've added filters and the ability to search. So here I want to look up all of the deliverables in Braintree, but actually I realized that the deliverables for a stitch in time got deleted by mistake, and I need to go find them. I can easily do that. So rather than going through a laundry list, I can find exactly what I'm looking for, and I can restore it here through this new search functionality. And again, I do have that ability to export into Excel. And I do have these two new columns, the delete by and the deleted on, and these are also available in the Excel. The next update is the manage staffing assignments. So if I go into that utility and I look up stitch in time, you can see that we added this new column, client account number. With all of our clients, they all have names that might be a little too similar, so we wanted to make it a little bit easier for you to identify your account, so we added this field over here to make that a little bit easier. The next update is the e-file status report. What we've heard from folks is you needed an additional column of the e-file rejected on. So if you run this report, we did add that field, and it's at the very end of the report. The reason it's at the end is because we also understand that many of you use macros when you're running these reports, and we don't want to interrupt this, so that's why it's at the very end. Now, you'll see this moving forward, but if you ever have your saved report filters, you can hit edit and you can add this simply by hitting edit and clicking the columns right here. You can also change them right here as well. And you can make sure you select that new field. All right. And here on the control sheet, we've made two updates. So the first is in this miscellaneous section. We've gotten a number of requests of additional softwares that you would like to add. And we've added them at the very end. So some new options that you will see is QuickBooks Online, Accounting CS, Sage Intacct, Xero, and QuickBooks Desktop. So those options will be available. And then last but not least, well, we've gotten feedback about this detail section is, while it's great to know the date, a lot of things change throughout the day, you need a timestamp. So we've added a timestamp in this changed on, and this is not just for the status change details, but also the adjusting time section. So we've also added this timestamp right there as well. And again, this is a sneak peek into what is coming. And we're going to launch our last polling question. After the December release, which utilities will have the ability to search and export? Restore deleted tasks, delete and restore deliverables, manage staffing assignments, all the above, none of the above. Don't forget, if you would like CPE credit for this webinar, don't forget to respond to this polling question. This is the last one of the webinar. After the December release, which utilities will have the ability to search and export, restore deleted tasks, delete and restore deliverables, manage staffing assignments, all the above, none of the above. All right. I'm going to close that and share the results. All right, for those who selected restore deleted tasks, we also are updating the delete and restore deliverables utility. So those are the two utilities that will now have the functionality to search and export. And that is our webinar. Like I said, today we went over key enhancements that are already available, and what we just saw is a sneak peek into our upcoming December release. You'll be getting a notification from us in the upcoming days of when it'll be available on your site. What's really exciting about today is all the enhancements we got are ideas that we've gotten from you. So whether we've spoken to you on the phone, you've sent in a support ticket, you've talked to us about an enhancement request, everything you saw today is because someone like yourself told us the idea. That's what makes XCM so great, is we're always trying to update this based on what you need. So I hope you'll continue to submit those enhancement requests, because you're the reason why our application gets better and better each day. So Amy, let's open it up to any questions.
Great, thank you, Justina. Lots of good information coming out today from this webinar. We do have a couple of questions. If anybody has questions while we're going through these, please feel free to type them in the questions box. The first question, Justina, is the software field searchable in advanced search? So the updated. Are you on mute?
I am on mute, and I was talking to you. Let me look into that one. I don't believe so, but we can follow up afterwards.
Okay, great. And then when you were discussing the checklist columns and you were in the utility of how to set them up, is that a firm-wide change, or is that a change that can be done by the user?
That is a firm-wide change.
Okay, great. So if you change those checklist columns, you're changing them for everybody in your firm, just so everybody is aware of that. Let me see. And then also another question on the checklist enhancement. So is that a firm-wide, or is that also set by user? So if they choose to see the checklist items by item, can they have to do it by the firm, or can it be set? So if I wanted to see it broken out, but you want to see it just as a summary, can you do it that way?
Great question. Right now it's firm-wide. So you would, if you change the admin checklist to see the checklist view, the individual checklist, that's going to be set for the firm-wide. Same for the My Checklist view. This is all set on the firm-wide, but a great enhancement request to set it on the user side.
Okay, great. And then we have some questions about when the enhancements, hold on, questions are coming in, so it's moving my stuff around here. If enhancement requests submit now, they will not be enacted upon until April 2021. I believe we are going to have a freeze through the busy season. Is that correct?
That is correct. We have a freeze starting every January, and we open it back up in May, just because we don't want to interrupt your use of the software. So, God forbid something happens, we don't want to interrupt while you need the application the most. So that's why we always have that practice of putting a code freeze between January and April.
Yep. But don't hesitate, if you're in the middle of busy season and you have an enhancement, please do submit it, because it'll, they're still looking at them and still working, just not pushing anything out to the application. So don't hesitate to submit those to
Absolutely.
the enhancement.
We're definitely not taking a vacation. We're constantly working on new enhancements. So while you may not see it for a few months, you will be after a code freeze. So it's a great reminder, Amy.
Sure. And then do you know where the update to new version of XIS practice management integration will be located? Is it only sent to an email? So Justina, I can take this. So they're going to be doing an update to the XIS install for Auto and for anybody who uses the practice management integration systems. That's going to come out on Friday. So if you're an Auto XIS, what's going to happen when you log in on Friday morning is you'll get a notification on your computer that you need to install the XIS. You could just go through the install and it will automatically do it for you. If you are a desktop user and you have to have it installed, there are instructions out on the Help Center. There's links to the communication that went out. I believe we pushed a communication out last week and we pushed out a pop-up today. So there's links to those documents that you need to take care of that XIS install there. And if you're not the person that does it and your IT person is, you can forward those instructions to them. If you have further questions on the XIS, you need help installing it, you can always reach out to support@xcmsolutions.com and they will push those forward to our IT department here to help you. All right. So I think that's all the questions I'm seeing, Justina. So if there are no other questions, and we will go ahead and end this session. Just so everybody knows, again, it will be recorded. The recording will be submitted to you via email from GoToWebinar. So the recording that will come out tomorrow is from GoToWebinars. And then later on this week, we will have uploaded the video and the PowerPoint presentation to the Help Center for anybody who wants access to it there. So with that, we will go ahead and end the session. Justina, thank you for leading this today. Great information, great things happened this year, and I'm sure more will come next year in 2021.
Yes, looking forward to it. And thank you, Amy. Loving what our Help Center now looks like.